Flat Creek Crossing Ranch, Johnson City.
I thought they were.
Gonna do a review and a 60-day ride evaluation of the 2019 Santa Cruz Bronson and compare it to the previous generation Santa Cruz 5010. I rode the 5010 for just under 2 years, and I've seen a lot of questions about wanting to know comparisons, differences in the ride, things of that nature. So hopefully I can answer some of those questions today. The first thing I'll say is, as my phone dings, the 5010 and the Bronson are definitely more similar than they are different, believe it or not. And the 5010 climbs really well. The Bronson, I feel, climbs just as well as the 5010. My previous bike was the 2017 Santa Cruz 5010, and it did anything and everything I needed, excluding anything above about a 4-foot drop. It just didn't have a suspension for it. This 19 Bronson, though, feels like it was made for me, and I do believe I'm in love. Climbs really well, descends well. Took it to Bentonville, Arkansas a couple of months ago, and that was actually where my very first ride on it was. And I was super impressed, because there you're definitely going to do a lot of climbing. The new rear shock design works really, really well. The ability that it has to stay really high in the travel while pedaling is really, really impressive. Oh, off trail. So the big question everyone asks is, how does it climb? A lot of owners of 5010s are really, really curious about the Bronson, specifically the 2019 Bronson, and how it compares. And is it a huge difference between those two bikes? And to be honest, like I said, they are much more similar than they are different. The geometry improvements, with the steeper head angle, steeper seat tube angle, really makes this bike climb and pedal really efficiently.
1, 2, 3, good.
The 19 is super poppy, really, really playful. And that reminds me a lot of the 5010 as well. Such a fun run. Get it, Joe, get it. Woo! So this is my first attempt at a YouTube video. Hopefully it doesn't suck. Hopefully it's informative. definitely honest, and take it for what it's worth. I'm talking to myself. I'd also like to give a shout out to Jorge's beautiful ass. You must work out, bro. I just got back from my ride at Flat Creek Crossing Ranch in Johnson City, running the enduro lines out there, and I just wanted to go over some of the specs of the bike that would hopefully help explain some of why my impressions of the bike and its comparisons between the Bronson and the 5010 are what they are. More or less, the build that you see here is the X01 build that Santa Cruz would build for you. A lot of these components I actually swapped over from my 5010, so there are some that are going to be different than the X01 build. The drivetrain, the dropper post, the bars, pedals, of course, all came from, and wheels and tires all came from my 5010. Things that did not come were I went with the Dub crankset. It's supposed to be healthier, more or less, for the bottom bracket as far as keeping out dust and dirt and debris and things like that. It's been wonderful so far. I also decided to go with these Shimano XT 4-piston caliper brakes, and these things stop on a dime. I can't say good enough things about them. Wonderful brakes. I also was able to secure from Santa Cruz, when I ordered it through my local bike shop, I picked up a Fox Performance Elite 36. It is the Grip 2 dampener, which is the newer one with all the small micro adjustments that you can make and things like that. I actually haven't touched it at all. I set the sag and I set every single adjustment on it based on Fox's recommendations, and I really have no complaints. It handles anything and everything I've thrown at it really, really well. I went to Bentonville, hit some of the bigger jumps, and then obviously hit some of the rowdy stuff that we have out here in Central Texas. And it does really it just does wonderful through all the chunk and the chatter and things like that. It's really, really quiet and composed and extremely predictable. The same thing with this RockShox Deluxe. Wonderful rear shock. On my 5010, I ran a Fox DPX2 where I actually had a 3-position settings on it, you know, where it has a closed, an open, and a pedal position. And for 85% of my riding, I rode with it in pedal, and then in descents, obviously I opened it, and then for long steady climbs, or well, for Texas long steady climbs, I would run it in the closed position. This shock, I actually leave it open all the time. They've done such a great job with the VPP that it sits really high in the travel. I get next to 0 pedal bob, and if I do get it, it's not noticeable. I don't feel that it's inefficient. I don't feel that I struggle climbing. It's tuned so well that it feels to me like the first 25-30% of travel in the shock is on the firmer side, and then once you've gotten past that, where you need it to be more soft and supple, it does just that. And it makes the bike really, really fun and playful. It's really easy to pop off of things, or pump through rollers and pick up a lot of speed. Very, very predictable, and that's why I say in a lot of ways it's really more similar to the 5010 than it is different, because the 5010 was really playful. It was really easy to take something really small and pop off of it and just have fun, almost in a BMX style. It was just really easy to maneuver. This bike, surprisingly enough, with all of its travel, does those same things. Really playful, pops off, you know, to make things fun. But when you need it to get deep into the travel and make the ride more comfortable and more safe and allow you to hit some bigger things and go through gnarlier sections with more confidence and comfort, Santa Cruz, in my opinion, hit a home run with it. I'm really surprised at just how well that rear shock does its job. I have next to no pedal strikes, unless it's something where I happen to have my feet in the wrong position when going through a chunky gnarly section or something, and I just happen to catch a pedal. But as far as just actively pedaling, there's next to no pedal bob. Anyway, I hope that helps you guys. If you have any questions, drop me a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. You know, I did this video basically because it didn't seem like I could find any information on comparisons between the 5010 and the Bronson. And bikes are pretty expensive, especially when you start getting into carbon and things like that. My 5010 was actually aluminum, and I've really loved the upgrade to carbon. It's considerably more stiff, and that could be a completely different video, really, in all honesty. But as far as ride quality, it is considerably more like the 5010 than it is different. So all those things that you like about your 5010, you'll probably like about the Bronson as well. It does everything I need it to do. The only thing that 5010 couldn't do that I needed it to do was when I started getting into larger drops, you know, above 3.5, 4 feet, because the bike just runs out of travel. But this thing, it is so much fun. They really made the improvements where they needed to from the previous generation to this one. And it's one of those bikes I look forward to riding every single time I grab the bars. So all right guys, that's all I got for you. Any questions, drop me a line. Thanks y'all.